Here's a question for you. What do you think is the one single biggest regret that already professionally registered engineers have when it comes to professional registration? Remember, they were all candidates at one point in time prior to their professional registration, which is obvious. So, in all of my debates and discussions that I've had with various engineers when it comes to their experience as registering as a professional, I always ask them the question, what's your biggest regret? Categorically, and I'm talking about 90% of them, always say to me, you know what, Johan, my biggest regret, and the one thing I would have done differently, is I would have kept a diary or some form of record of the projects that I worked on, who my supervisors were, what did I do on those projects? Because if you take 10, 15 years from now, or 5 years even, and you try and think back on exactly what did you do, what was the story with it, which outcomes did you cover, then it becomes difficult because you can maybe remember parts of the project, but not all of that. So that is the biggest issue, right? So my advice is always to the young, especially the young engineers, is to keep a record of all of the projects that you worked on. Why? Number one, you're going to forget. Number two, if those supervisors, if you don't keep a record of them and they disappear and you can't find them anymore, then you have to go to the police station and do an affidavit, and you have to submit that as part of your application documents, and it's a schlep. Let's be honest, you don't want to go down there. And then also, thirdly, and I think that's the biggest motivation, is to keep track of the outcomes that you've covered during that period of time. What were your inputs? What was your progression during that time? So what's the solution here? All right. There are many solutions that you can use. You can use a diary, and you can do it on a weekly basis or a daily basis or monthly basis. Man, you can even do it annually. There are lots of modern technology and apps that you can use, but none of them are tailored for candidate engineers. So far, and so far I could only find one thing, and I developed it. And it sounds arrogant, but I'm not. So what I've basically done, I've created a workplace training plan. And I did it for that specific purpose, to help the candidates keep a record of the experience, and then also for the mentors to have a document which they can then submit as evidence that they have done mentoring during that period of time. So over the years, I thought, okay, what is important here? So I had to look at all of the headings of the various documents, like your training and experience document, your TES, training and experience summary, your engineering report. Then also I had to look at the outcomes, which is important to document, and then also your degree of responsibility. So I took those headings and I thought, if I can create something that's overarching, which you could literally sit on a weekly or quarterly or monthly basis, even annually if you want to, with your mentor, and you document it properly, then when it comes to application stage, your life will be so much easier. So let's have a look at that document and see how it's structured and how you can use it going forward during your candidate phase. It is freely available. I'm in the process of doing an electronic version of it as well. But this document has been proven successful, and it's grown over the years since 2018. So it's been around for a long, long, long time, and lots of candidates are using it. So I'm urging you to use it as young professionals during your candidate phase. But I also urge the ones who have got a lot of experience to use this document just to check, where are you? How many outcomes have you covered? Did you cover all of them? Are you operating on degree of responsibility level E? And for how long? So it forms a natural flow that you could immediately see where you're lacking or whether you've covered all of those outcomes, or you're operating on the right level of responsibility. So let's dive into it. So you will find there's two sections to it, a left and right side. On your left side, you will have your side, your candidate side. So put your name, category of registration in, you can put your mentor in, you can put the dates in. But this is now where it gets interesting. Look at the headings. Same as your application documents, but it's done in such a way that it's not detailed or any of that. It's literally, shall we call it a dipstick scenario to check where you are? If you look on the left side, you'll find there's space for a project. Well, it's always good for the mechanical engineers, especially, to document which projects they are busy on or whether they've completed it. So it's just for your own admin. You don't have to submit it to EXA, by the way. So that's your first column. Your second one is the supervisor that you reported into or manager. It's important to keep that information because you will have to find them at some point to sign off on your training and experience reports. Then your next column, that's about you and what you did on the project. Now, please don't go and list the project, what the project was all about. I want to see, or this record needs to capture, what did you do on the project? What was your inputs? What were the problems that you encountered? How did you solve them? You do it in a high-level bullet point format so that you don't have to have long stories. Your long stories will come when you do your training and experience report. So this is just to trigger your memory to say what you've done on that project. It's also important to register your designation. Remember, you have to submit an organogram, and that organogram will tell you where you are in the hierarchy. So it will be good to register your designation here as well. Then your next column would be the date of the project when it started and end. Now remember, there are 4 or 5 triggers, when you've been promoted, project changes, change of company, taking a long period of time off. So those were your start and end dates and how many weeks you've worked. Be careful that you don't, if you work on multiple projects, that you don't add it. You'll end up with more weeks than there are in the year. Now that's your TES. So here you capture that as well. The next column is the important one. Those are the 11 outcomes. This is where you select from a drop-down menu which of the outcomes you have covered during that project. So you link it to your project that you worked on and your activities there, back to the 11 outcomes. I'll do an example for you. You link that back to it, and you can then quickly see which outcomes you have covered during that period of time. Then your next one will be your degree of responsibility, tick box. And that's a nice thing because now you can immediately, if you look at it, see where you've moved, are you in the right level, those kind of things. So that is your degree of responsibility, very important. Now we move to the right-hand side. Now, candidates, remember, it's your responsibility to document or to book your mentor. Mentoring happens every day. It's just how it is. But I suggest at least 4 times a year, to sit with your mentor and to do this document and do it formally. Get it signed off, keep it as a record. Mentor use it for CPD points as evidence of mentoring. And you can then use it, I don't know, as part of your CV or whatever you want to use it for, over and above the record that you're keeping for your application documentation. Now, the first column that you will see from the mentor side is, and this is what you're going to discuss, would be which outcomes have you covered thus far? Am I happy with the outcomes that you've covered? Your mentor or manager or supervisor, whichever you want to sit with, that is taking you through the process. So this is where you check that you get all of the outcomes. And this is also where you plan and say to your mentor, look, I'm not getting enough experience in design, or I need to get to site. Can't we work a plan here so that I can go to site to get that experience? That gets documented here. And then the next one is your degree of responsibility. Obviously, you're going to sit with your mentor, supervisor, or team leader, or whoever, and then say, all right, I've been hovering on, say, level C, BC for a long time now. We need to put me on a project where I take more responsibility and moving into the realm of being exposed to the environment on level E. Remember, your A is being exposed to the environment, and you move all the way up to level E, which is appropriate to a professional engineer, which just basically means that you're doing exactly the same as a professional engineer. The only difference is you can't sign off because you haven't been registered yet. So that is that column that you sit and discuss with your mentor. And then the next one is supplementary training. So let me give you an example. Say, for instance, you go to site, then you need to know and understand what the construction regulations is all about. This is where you keep a record of that. You document it, you plan it, and you go on that training. Then the last column is once again just for you and your mentor, where you sit and you decide and discuss some other issues like how are you going to move to the next level perhaps, or what development we need to do with you to become a team leader or a manager or any one of those, or problem areas that you have, any one of those. This is where you document that. So now you've got the full scope. Anything pertaining to your professional documents that you have to submit for registration, even your training, and then also, if you want to bring some personal stuff in, or personal growth rather, you've also got that. At the bottom, there's a date and time that you can sign. That makes it a formal document, which I suggest you do. So this is literally a mini program or system within the application as a professional engineer cycle. Remember that development cycle that I always talk about that makes you professional? So this is literally that record that fits into that developmental cycle. I will highlight it for you. You see here, that is where this document sits. So it's a living document. Okay, let's have a look at a practical example now. Project number 1, your supervisor, you give your supervisor a name, you put it in there. Your designation, as an example, would be, let's call it resident engineer on site, as an example. So you get appointed for that. Now, you're going to explain, what are you going to do on site? Site meetings that you have. You're going to interact with a contractor. You're going to check the variation orders. You're going to do all of those kind of things. That goes into your column that describes your designation and your activities. You also discuss or put bullet points in of the problems that you've encountered. You also refer to the OSH Act pertaining to the construction regulations here. We'll get to the training now. So you're going to put in those regulations and how you adhere to it. You also talk about incidents that happen on site. You document it there. Now, your week, your day that you went to site, that's your start date. Your end date will be when you're pulled off of site again. You add those weeks, which gives you your total for the weeks that you worked on your site experience as an example. You might even ask me, okay, but how long do I have to be on site? Well, my suggestion, anything between 6 months and a year. If it's a massive project with very intense site management, then 6 months. If it's a middle to lightweight one, then at least a year. Consecutively, no. You can go to site, come to office, do design, and then move on again. So that's how you document your start and end date and how many weeks you've worked. Then the next one will be your council outcomes. Now, remember, you go to site, so you're managing engineering activities, which is outcome number 4. You have to talk to the client, you have to talk to the contractor, you have to talk to the health and safety agents. So that's outcome number 5. But you also need to know and understand the construction regulations, which will then be outcome number 7. You also will look at the environmental aspect in some cases, which will be outcome number 6. If you go to site for the first time, your degree of responsibility will be A. And obviously, when you've spent enough time there, your responsibility will move from A all the way to E. Then after you, or during that time that you've been placed on site, you book your time with your mentors, you put your date in there, and then you sit and discuss and say, all right, how was your site experience? Which outcomes did you cover? You debate that, you go through that whole process. Then obviously your mentor will say to you, Great, you've been on site, so you've moved from A to, say, D or E or whatever the case might be, but it must obviously move to a higher degree of responsibility. You document that there. Now, remember the supplementary training that I was talking about? This is where you document your supplementary training. Because before you go onto site, when you do your planning with your mentor, then you put in there, I need to go on a workshop pertaining to the construction regulations so that when I go there, I don't make mistakes and I run the site properly. And I'm within the boundaries of the law when it comes to the construction regulations, the OSH Act, as you know it. That gets documented there. You see now where I'm going with this. So now you've got the full scope plus your training, and then you can make recommendations or comments on that to say, you know what, I've had enough site experience now. I need to get into the design side of things. Shall we plan that and then document that? So you see the flow, and you do this. You can do it daily if you want to. I would say do it weekly. Every Friday, go in an hour earlier, document it. Every quarter, you then spend time with your mentor. Remember, mentoring happens all the time. This is just a formal way of structuring it and keeping a record of that so you don't get lost after 5 years trying to dig back or 10 years and try and find out what did I do during that period of time. Now you'll see at the bottom of the tabs, there's one that also talks to the 11 outcomes. So if you click on that, it will give you all of the outcomes, all of the 11 outcomes. There's also a picture of the 11 outcomes and how they fit together. But what's most important here is look at the column next to the 11 outcomes. Those are the questions that you need to answer because those are the things that the reviewers are going to look for. So make sure that you capture that or make sure that you answer those questions because those are the requirements that you need to meet. Those are the evidence that they're looking for. I've done it for the technologists. You'll see there's a tab for that and for the technicians. And then the last tab will be your natural progression from level A to E. So if you want to see what does level D mean, then you can go and have a look at it. And you can look at level E, which means you have to operate on level E for at least a year. Remember that one? Oh, and remember, you have to operate on level E for at least a year. I suggest at least 2 years. Look, rather be safe than sorry. The natural progression, you'll start at level A because that's when you got employed. Couldn't do much. You get exposed to the environment. You get inducted. They introduce you to the team. You get a mentor allocated to you. And then you move up through the ranks. And when you're on level E, you look at the wording as well, appropriate to a professional engineer, which means you're the same as a professional engineer. You can't sign off though because you're not professionally registered. That is the workplace training plan. That's how it works. That's how it's structured. And please use it. Email me. I'll send it to you. If you want to book a session with me and we can run through it on one of your projects, gladly do that with you. No problem at all. So feel free to push on my button. I've got WhatsApp as well where you can contact me to book a session. So you have got the resources now to do it. Please don't go and make the same mistake as so many people have done. And by not keeping a record of it, and I can tell you now, there's some of you watching this video going like, maybe I should have done that a while back already. So, but you still have a chance to do it. So please do it. And even for your mature candidates, if you want to find out, gee, where am I really in this process of professional registration, use this. Document it. Do it high level. Put it down. And then you can see where you still need to do what. And then you focus on that. Come the end of the year, here's my suggestion again. Then pull out the TER, your first TER. Look at this document of yours. Then complete your first TER or your second or third one. But do it at least every year. So that over a 5-year period, you've got all of your training and experience reports documented. And then your last year, you can start populating your engineering report. Your TES, your training and experience summary, will be easy because it's here already. It's literally just cut and paste, and there you go. So this one, this specific document will really, really help you, and it will go a long, long, long way. Ask the ones that's been there and that's done it and that's used this document. So good luck with that. As I said, feel free to book me at any time. I've given you an example now. If you want a practical with me, then we can do that as well. So yeah, that's the story with the diary and the biggest mistake that all engineers or most engineers have done. If you're doing your own diary and stuff, that's also fine. But compare it and see which one works better for you. And on that note, good luck with your professional registration. Remember, we are here to have a look at your applications before you submit it to EXA to make sure that you're on the right track. And if you need advice, we help you with that as well.